The learning is Nishmas Etta Ahuva Basaka Maseches Bava Metzia Perek Vav Mishna Beis Haseiches Ha'omna Mechazu Behem Yadam HaTachtein. If someone hires workers and the workers back out after they started doing some of the work, so over here it's talking about, this Mishnah Beis is talking about they already started doing the work, as opposed to the first case in Mishnah Aleph where we said Ein Lahem Zal Zeh Ela Tarumais. According to one sheet that was talking about workers backing out, over there they did not start doing the work yet. Over here they did start doing the work, so he's going to have to hire someone else to do the remaining work. Is the Yad Poyel is Al HaTachteina, and therefore if labor went up, he could withhold some of their wages in order to pay the new workers, and if labor went down, we don't say that the original workers that backed out get more. They still only get that what he was paisik to give them originally. The second case of the Mishnah is the opposite. The Balabayis is Chayzer boy, then Yadai al Tachtoina, the Yad Balabayis is al Tachtoina, and if labor went down, even though labor went down, he still has to pay them whatever he made up to pay them. Kol HaMishana Yadai al Tachtoina. The Gemara explains this is talking about the same halacha that we had in Baba Kama Perik Tes Mishnah Daled, that you gave over your tzemer to a dyer, your wool to a dyer to dye red, and he dyed it black, or the opposite. So over there, Rabbi Yehuda's shita was Yadai al Tachtoina, that if the shvach was more than yitzia, then the expenses, all you have to pay is the expenses, and if the expenses were more than the shvach, all you have to pay is the shvach, that the amount that it became better. And the last case of the Mishnah is Kalachayzer bo Yadal Tachtoina, two pshatim in the Gemara. The second pshat in the Gemara is what the Rab brings down, that the case is talking about someone who made a down payment on a house. And over here, if the Moicher is Chayzer, it's Yad Halikeach Ala Halyena, the Hainu that he could either request back the amount of money that he paid, or he has a right to the amount of the field which he paid towards. So if he paid, let's say, a fifth of the amount of the field, he gets to take a fifth of the field. Or if the lekech is the one that backs out, then it's going to be Yad Moicher Alayina, that he has a choice to either pay him back in money or to pay him part of the karka. Taisus Riku Eger and Mishnais over here brings down the Gemara says that the Ukimta is the case that we're talking about, that the Balbayis is allowed to be chayzer, even though there was a down payment on the house. And why don't you say if there was a down payment on a house, you're kind of the whole house? Like everyone who buys a house, you pay a down payment and you're kind of the whole house. The Teretz is that over here, the case is talking about that the Balbayis is trying to get the remaining amount of money owed. He's trying to chase after the lekeach to pay the full payment. So it's clearly obvious that he did not want to be kind with the down payment. He was just strapped for cash, and he needed the full amount of the price of the field. And now that you're not paying me the full amount of the price of the field, it's adaita dahachi leizav, and I didn't mean to sell it to you, and it's not going to be chal the sale. Mishna Gimel Haseicher Es Hachamor. If someone rents a donkey, like renting a car, and he made up that he's going to Leilicha Bahar, bring it in the mountain area, and he changed his mind and he Leilicha Bebika without telling the owner, or the opposite. He was going to bring it in the Bika, and then he brought it in the Har. Afila Zuas Amilam Zuas Amilam, even though the same amount of distance, since you changed your mind, Umeisa, and it died, you're chayev. So we're just going to skip the next few lines in the Mishnah. The Gemara has it in the opposite order. And the end of the Mishnah says, if you were seicher es chamor leilicha bahar v'helicha bebika, same exact case. And then it says it depends. If it was hichlika, if it slipped, so it had nothing to do with the bika, so then you're pater. Only if it's mhuch muchayev, because the bika is ma'ila hevel, so then it has directly related to the fact that I changed it and brought it in the wrong place, then you're chayev. And the same thing, the opposite. If it was lahilicha bebika, if he made up that he's going to bring it in the valley and he winds up bringing it in the mountain, so then only if it slips, that had to do with the mountain, himachika chayev. But if it was huchmo, it's pater. And in machmas hamayla chayev, if it was because of the steps, the elevation, then also because he brought it in the mountain, so that's why he's chayev. So the Gemara asks, Mishna Reisha, Mishna Seifa. Before we get to the middle part of the Mishnah, the Reisha of the Mishnah and the last case of the Mishnah seems to be the same halacha, same case, that you made up you're going to bring it either in the Har or the Bika and you change your mind. But in the Seifa, it gives depends on what winds up happening to the animal, if it dies because of this change or not because of this change. So the Gemara gives two basic terutzim. The first teretz is that the Reisha, the Mishnah, was not hechlika and not hochma. It was one of three other choices, and therefore, in those three choices, you could either relate it due to the fact of the change to the bika or to change of the har. For example, let's say it died machmas the aver because of the ear, or because of its tiredness, or because the snake bit it. So you could say it's because you brought it in this new place, that's why it died. The other teretz of the Gemara is that the machlekes tanoim, the Reisha, the Mishnah is going like Rameir that holds kol hamaver al das shel balabayis. If you change that which the balabayis wanted, then you're nikra gazlan, and therefore, no matter what happens to it, you're going to be chayiv. The middle case of the Mishnah that we skipped is haseicha es a chamor. You rented a donkey, v'hivrika, and something happened to the donkey. Either the Rab brings down two pshatim, either it was Nishmas, it became blind, or its foot got hurt, oishin nasis and garya, or the king took it away to use, then the masker doesn't have to worry about it. So in the case that the king took it away, the Gemara says in Machlekes Rav and Shmuel, Rav says the only time that the owner doesn't have to worry about it. What do you mean? You rented a car, now you don't have a car? It's talking about that because the king's going to give it back to you soon. And Shmuel says even if he's not going to give it back to you, but it's talking about a case that the king was going on the same, the Abdei Malachim or whatever, going on the same route that you were going, and it was just a tircha that you were going to have to follow afterwards with a different chamar, but once you get to the place where he was going, you'd be able to reuse it again. So then it's not the masker zachrayis. Then we say harei shalach lefanecha. It's like mazol chagarim. You who rented it, it's your mazel that you winded up losing out. But if it was mesa in ishbara, if the chamar died or broke, you rented a car and the car is totally broken, then chayiv lechamar, the masker, the one who rented it out to you, has to replace the chamar.